You know that do not disturb sign on a hotel door? Yeah, we've all used it. And it seems pretty simple, right? But for hotels today, that little sign is actually a huge dilemma. It's this constant tug of war between a guest's privacy, the hotel's reputation, and even security. So, what does that sign really mean in today's world?
Seriously, what does it mean? Is it an ironclad promise of absolute privacy, no questions asked? Or is it more of a suggestion, a guideline that sometimes has to bend for safety checks and other hotel rules? Well, the answer is a lot more complicated than you'd probably guess.
Because at the end of the day, this isn't just about a piece of cardboard hanging on a doorknob. It's about a promise. It's about the trust, that fundamental trust a guest puts in a hotel. And if you get this wrong, you're not just looking at a bad online review. The source material we're looking at says it can cause, and I'm quoting here, unnecessary mental trauma. That's a huge deal and can seriously tarnish a brand's reputation.
And that brings us right to the heart of the problem. The old way of thinking about that do not disturb sign, it just doesn't cut it anymore. Guest expectations have totally changed, safety concerns are higher than ever, and hotels, well, they need a whole new approach. Now, the solution here isn't about, inventing some brand new complicated system from scratch. It's not about reinventing the wheel. It's much simpler. It's about taking the rules we already have and just reevaluating them for the world we live in now. Think of it more as a much-needed update, not a total revolution.
So, how do hotels actually get this right? Well, it all starts with being proactive. Instead of just waiting around for something to go wrong, the idea is to build a playbook that stops the problem before it even has a chance to start.
The goal is really that simple: prevention. Every single step we're about to talk about is designed to get out ahead of any potential issues, set crystal clear expectations, and just avoid that conflict altogether.
Okay, so here it is, the 4-step playbook. Step 1, train your team. The rule has to be dead simple. DND means DND. No exceptions, period. Step 2, inform the guest right at check-in. Let them know the cleaning hours and tell them about the 24-hour safety check policy. You want to avoid surprises. Step 3, clear communication. If a room doesn't get cleaned because the sign is up, a little card gets slipped under the door explaining exactly why. And finally, step 4, create a paper trail. The manager follows up with an email or a WhatsApp message. See, it's all about making sure everyone is on the same page.
But okay, let's be real for a second. Even with the absolute best plan in the world, we're all human. Mistakes are going to happen. So what do you do when your prevention plan fails?
The source puts it pretty bluntly: what do you do if you've already messed up? This is where everything shifts. We're moving from a proactive game plan to reactive recovery. And believe me, the stakes get a whole lot higher.
And that leads us right into the roadmap for recovery. This isn't just about fixing a mistake. It's a guide to using that failure as a chance to rebuild and maybe even strengthen the trust that you just lost.
And here is the absolute core principle for that recovery process. Listen to this. Don't make excuses. Don't try to justify what went wrong. In that moment, your one and only job is to protect the guest's feelings, the brand's reputation, and that fragile trust that's been broken.
So here's how that works in 6 steps. 1. The highest-ranking person on duty meets the guest face-to-face. 2. You check on their psychological safety first, then you worry about their belongings. 3. You own it. Figure out what happened and admit the mistake. 4. And this one's so important, you do not justify it. 5. Don't just throw a freebie at them. Instead, you ask them directly, what can I do to rebuild the trust we have lost? That question puts the power back in their hands. And finally, 6. Stay in touch. Keep them updated every step of the way. Don't make them chase you for answers.
Now, everything we've talked about, both the prevention and the recovery, it's all built on this really powerful insight into how guests think. The source calls it the 99% rule.
And the idea is actually pretty simple. 99% of your guests are decent, kind people who are willing to forgive a mistake. Then you have this tiny 1% who the source calls predators. These are the folks who are actively looking for a slip-up so they can exploit it, probably for some kind of compensation. So just burn that number into your brain, 99%. The overwhelming majority of people are reasonable. They will forgive you if, and this is a big if they feel that your apology and your approach are genuine, authentic, and truly have their best interests at heart. So this gives you 2 very clear paths. If you take that authentic, genuine approach, you're dealing with a reasonable 99%. But with just one wrong word,
one hint of a bad attitude or defensiveness. You can instantly flip that forgiving guest into one of the difficult 1%. You essentially create your own worst-case scenario.
All right, let's do a super quick recap of the big takeaways here. First, prevention is always your best bet. Second, when a mistake does happen, you have to own it completely. Third, remember that real empathy is worth way more than a free dinner. Fourth, your attitude literally determines how the guest will respond. And finally, through all of this, remember that trust is your single most valuable asset.
And that leaves us with one last thing to think about. In an industry that is built entirely on reputation and relationships, what is the real cost, not just in money, but in long-term value of a single broken moment of trust?